All right, we will now call to order the February 9th regular meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you all for attending the regular meeting of the board. I would like to remind you that school board meetings in Nebraska are meetings held in public, not public meetings. During the public comment section, the public may address the board on agenda items and other miscellaneous topics. All right, Sheila, can we get roll call, please?
Mitch Wagner,
Here, whatever I am. Present. There we go.
Angela Blazy,
Present.
Emily Garrick,
Present.
Cindy O'Connor,
Present.
Skip Altick,
Present.
Joanne Lynn
Present.
All right, and to start our evening with our mission statement, North Platte Public Schools is a destination school district and community that embraces innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, instilling the canteen spirit in an evolving world. The canteen spirit embodies generosity, selflessness, and unwavering support through service, pride, collaboration, and grit. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is posted here in the boardroom. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the publication of the February 9th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to approve the publication for the February 9th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
Notices of Board of Education meetings and hearings are placed in the North Platte Telegraph and the North Platte Bulletin. The agenda is also available online at www.nppsd.org 4 days prior to each regular meeting of the North Platte Board of Education. All right, calling to question, Sheila.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Joanne Lynn
Aye.
Mitch Wagner.
Motion passes. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the February 9th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
I move to approve the agenda for the February 9th, 2026 regular board meeting of the Board of Education.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Joanne Lynn
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, at this time, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start off this evening with our communications portion of the meeting. So we're going to start first with our special presentation of our January Bulldogs of the Month. So we'll welcome Mr. Spatansky, please.
So each month it is an honor to recognize two of North Platte High School's finest. And we have two of them here again tonight. We'll start off this evening with Mr. Blake Tonkinson and finish with Miss Kennedy Kreisman.
I would like to first introduce and thank my parents who are sitting behind me, Nick and Chantel Tonkinson. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish anything that I've accomplished so far in my life. And so it means a lot to me that they're here to recognize this now today. And at North Platte High School, through my 4 years, I've participated in football, basketball, and soccer. And I have also been a member of National Honor Society, and I've been awarded academic honor roll for all 3 years that I've completed high school. Through those 4 years, I've gone through many experiences that have shaped my life in a positive way. And the one that really is going to stick with me is being able to say that I won on my senior night for football this year with all my friends and all the people that I've played with since I was a little kid when we beat Lincoln High School for our last game. And so that is my favorite experience. And then after high school, I plan to pursue a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I would like to end off by thanking Mr. Spatansky and the rest of the administration at North Platte High School for their consideration for this award.
Hello, I am Kennedy Kreisman, and tonight I am here with the support of my parents, Mike and Teresa Kreisman. Throughout high school, I've been a part of many activities, including cross-country, track, soccer, NHS, and student council, where I served as the sergeant of arms this year, all while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. My favorite high school experience was being able to compete in a cross-country meet in Sioux Falls, South Dakota the past 2 years. After high school, I am planning to attend Southeast Community College to get my radiological technicianist certification. Thank you.
We will make you guys come up to the front and take a picture, those students, and parents will come shake your hand. So this is your forewarning.
I don't know, get one.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight and congratulations on those awards. We also now have a student spotlight this evening. And we have some open seats right up here up front. So come on up, guys. Our student spotlight this evening, we will welcome our Sing Across Nebraska students with music teacher, Mrs.
Jeanette.
Holscher.
Do you have the computer with the music? in? Okay.
All right. And Mrs. Kammerer. Thank you guys for being here.
Many schools in our region. Many schools in our region participated, including South Platte, Ogallala, Chase County, Paxton, Sutherland, St. Pat's, Gothenburg, and Callaway, and the most amazing of all, North Platte Public Schools. North Platte Escuelas Públicas se expresaron 45 estudiantes de cada escuela de primaria y también la de Madison Middle School. Y sí, hicimos muchos amigos.
Did anybody get that? Because I didn't, and I go to Europe every summer and I'm a little jealous. Adeline, keep it up now in English.
North Platte Public Schools was represented by 45 students, elementary buildings of Madison Middle School. Well, yes, we made lots of new friends. Our guest clinician was Teresa Rodert, retired music educator from Hershey Public Schools, and our amazing accompanist was Sarah Wett, music educator from Cambridge Public Schools. Festival Day was held at the North Platte High School PAC. We rehearsed all day long, but it was a blast. Then we performed for the public and our proud parents at 4 p.m. Festival Day was held at North Platte High School PAC. To prepare for this day, Miss K made us rehearse every Monday or Tuesday after school for what felt like years and years. Just kidding. It was 8 weeks of rehearsal and we enjoyed singing some technically challenging songs. One was even in Latin. Do you know how to pronounce Latin? Okay. Do you know how to pronounce Latin in, well, Latin? You would say Lingua Latina. We hope you enjoy listening to one of our favorite songs, Rizzledy Razzledy. Thank you for inviting us.
God. Thank you guys so much. That was wonderful. Can you make your way through the crowd there, Terry? All right, we'll wait just a minute and let people clear out. If you are standing, there are now some open seats, so please feel free to come have a seat. All right. Thank you so much. We will go ahead and dive into our foundation report tonight.
Great. Well, that's one of the examples of what we help fund is helping that make that possible. So it's always great to see the teachers that are dedicated to make things possible for the students to have those experiences. The foundation awarded 2,300 in REACH grants in the last month. It supported 2 different schools, Jefferson and the high school. Jefferson's first grade teacher, Mrs. Younghans, requested funds for a STEM bin builders. Dream Design Do was her project title. These bins will allow students to have equitable access to materials and experiences that build confidence, curiosity through exploration and play. Students strengthen fine motor skills, critical thinking, and perseverance. We also were at Jefferson for kindergarten, Mrs. Higgins' room. Her project was building words, building readers. She needed magnetic tile boards for both kindergarten and first grade. These materials will be used during classroom-based literacy interventions to support students in developing letter sounds, connections, and word building fluency. Due to the loss of Title I intervention teachers this school year, many of their reading interventions now occur within the classroom, increasing the need for hands-on reusable tools that support small group and individualized instruction. The magnetic boards will allow students to physically manipulate letters. I want to go play with them. Then at the high school, we visited Mr. Willie, the digital media production instructor. He's launching Nebraska's first high school state championship film festival that will be open to all students across the state. This event will screen the top students produced films in 8 categories and feature keynote speakers, breakout learning sessions, college and media industry presentations, and networking opportunities. One of the sponsors is actually one of our alumni, Mr. Gorman, with HERDAT. He is looking for more sponsors. We were only able to help fund part of his request. Mrs. Kemper, the head cheer coach, held their first local cheer clinic earlier this year. They wanted to add some headgear to have available since the cheerleaders are doing more stunts this year, so we were able to help them fund that with a partnership, of course, with the district. You can go out to KNOP's website, click on education, and then click on reaching one classroom at a time to see how excited the teachers and the students are. And of course, we thank Fat Dogs for that partnership. Tonight, we would be recognizing McDonald Elementary staff, but unfortunately, one of those teachers is also a coach and unable to attend. So we will bring both of them next month. I hope that's okay. I'd like to finish by saying the foundation has been hearing from alumni and donors. Board decisions impact the community. The foundation's alumni and donors are closely watching how the district moves forward. The comments that have been shared with me, we are fortunate to have excellent principals and directors at every level and continued investment in leadership matters across the district, including the superintendent. The district requires strong, experienced leadership with a passion for growth, not just maintaining status quo. State scores and district growth have been improving, and that momentum must continue, not stall or move backward. High standards and expectations should remain the norm for North Platte Public Schools. The district has 3,700 students. We have more students, 1,200 at the high school than Maxwell at 250, Hershey at 542, and Sutherland at 283 put together, plus we have elementary schools. When it comes to the superintendent, we shouldn't be compared to the surrounding schools. This all matters because donors are often the alumni, parents, or community members. Their confidence in the district influences whether they keep giving, increase giving, or step back. Leadership transitions are trust moments, and donors are less likely to invest in systems that they don't trust. Donors want North Platte to be a district where people, students, employees aspire to be a part of, not one that settles. High standards protect the district's reputation, which directly affects the community pride and willingness to support future initiatives. This impacts the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will move on to our public comment portion of the evening. Public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with the date, topic addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting.
I do have one, Mrs. Garrick, but we actually had a second part to the Sing Across Nebraska a PowerPoint presentation that Mrs. Holscher would like to present,
Okay.
or is that what we're doing?
The part, it's what I want to talk about the board, but it's not partially around Nebraska.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Then yes, I have a public comment card from Mrs. Holscher.
Okay.
Apparently there's
Excellent.
a PowerPoint that goes with it.
Okay, Mrs. Solskjaer, I will go ahead and read. We have a little bit of a statement that we read before public comment while you get settled. When called upon by the presiding officer, already done, the individual shall proceed to the table, state their name and address. An individual may not exceed 5 minutes, and total time for all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board approves extending the allocated time. This time for public comment shall not be used to address specific individual student discipline or employee performance issues. Complaint and grievance processes are in place to deal with issues of this nature. All right, thank you.
Hello, Board of Education. My name is Marta Holscher Nelson. Obviously, you know that I teach elementary music in our school system, since a few of my dear students just performed for you. I believe this is my 37th year in education, most of them with North Platte Public Schools, where I was hired in 1999. I retired in 2022 and returned to teaching the very next year. I love this district. Sorry, I'm a music teacher and I can't do this. There we go. I love this district. I love teaching music and I adore my students. Well, most of the time. With that being said, I am greatly concerned that we just lost two incredible administrators, Dr. Todd Rhodes and Vicki Carlson. One of the reasons I returned to teaching after retirement is because I have great faith and trust in Dr. Todd Rhodes. You see, education is all about building positive relationships, and Todd Rhodes has that in spades. I cannot count the times that colleagues in our district have exclaimed, "Dr. Rhodes just called me by name and asked about my child or my spouse or my parent. I didn't even think he knew who I was." This happened often. My family's personal experience with Todd goes back to Adams Middle School, where he was principal when my sons attended. When my youngest son, Grant, went from 8th grade at Adams Middle School to North Platte High School, Todd moved along with him, transitioning from Adams principal to North Platte High School principal. So yes, Todd knew this class well and took a personal interest in all of his students. How many principals in a Class A school do you know who write letters of recommendation for high school's juniors and seniors? I only know one. I'm holding 8 letters of recommendation that Todd Rhodes wrote for my son over 2 years. Air Force Academy, Midwest Destroyers, North Platte Public Schools Scholarship Committee, State of Nebraska, Army, ROTC, just to name a few. You see, Todd emphasized a work ethic and never giving up, and he encouraged kids. Anyone who knows anything about, I should say that my son, Grant, dreamed of being a pilot from the age of 6, and Todd encouraged him. Anyone who knows anything about becoming a pilot knows that either your parents have to have very deep pockets or you join the military. Did I say that I'm a teacher? My pockets, especially since I spent 13 years as a single mom, were certainly not deep. Thanks in large part to Todd Rhodes and counselor Mary Lynn Horst encouraging my son in their countless letters of recommendation, Grant received an ROTC full tuition scholarship to UNK. He started off as an aviation major, but we couldn't afford it. So Grant got his degree in social studies education and immediately started a master's degree in administration, in large part due to his admiration for Dr. Rhodes. While working on his master's degree, who did Grant call for advice and help? You guessed it, Todd Rhodes, who was then superintendent at Gothenburg Public Schools. Relationships matter. Lenore. Thanks in large part to Dr. Rhodes, Grant did achieve his dream of becoming a pilot through hard work, a lot of debt paying for fixed wing aviation school. He is now an airline pilot for SkyWest and commander of the Nebraska CH-47 National Guard unit. You may have seen him flying this next beast in the PowerPoint on Saturday. Lenore, go ahead and turn it. There you go. You may have seen Grant flying this beast on Saturday at our very own airport. Now, I don't know for sure why Dr. Rhodes would quit at the end of February, but I'm guessing things must be very bad in the school district that I love. I'm also guessing from the articles that I've read in our newspaper and from KNOP and talks to amongst my colleagues that there is a lot of friction on our Board of Education. So I'm here to ask each of you why you are on the board. Is it because you love our students and education? In addition, are you here to support our teachers? Do you have a vested interest in our school district? I know some of you not well, but I've personally seen your track record. Skip. I don't know you well, but I've watched you lead our teacher union through countless years of negotiation, always working for our best interests. I've heard you announce Bulldog football games. And most recently, I've had the pleasure of sitting across from you at the board table and Stuart Simpson during negotiations. This time you were on the other side. And the result during that year was a long-awaited family insurance policy for our teachers. This was huge. You see, teachers don't make a lot of money, and we worry about how we can insure our own children.
Time.
Ah, dang it.
If you have just a little bit left, we'll let you finish your
I've got more.
statement.
Okay.
If you would just wrap up like 20 seconds, since we
Okay.
didn't give you a warning, that way we don't cut you off.
Yeah, I had no
mid-sentence.
idea it was 5 minutes. I also have positive comments about Cindy O'Connor taking care of our teachers in numerous ways. And I want to thank you. I trust you and I trust your service. Skip. I trust you. I trust your service. Joanne, I want to say thank you for your support of the arts. Thank you. I trust your service. Mitch, welcome to the board. I had your kids in school. I greatly admire Cy. I hope you follow his example and are as kind as he is on this board. And I'm hoping that if you're not on this board for the right reasons and you're out to get our superintendent or there's collusion and gossip, that you consider resigning. You have not earned my trust yet, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
Are there any others, Sheila?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to our consent agenda for the evening. A consent agenda, also known by Robert's Rules of Order as a consent calendar, groups routine meeting discussion points into a single agenda item. In so doing, the grouped items can be approved in one action rather than through the filing of multiple motions. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. So at this time, I would call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, on tonight's consent agenda, we have a lot of minutes. So 9.1, approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2026 special meeting of the Board of Education. 9.2, approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Education. 9.3, approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2026 special meeting of the Board of Education. 9.4, approve the minutes of the January 29th, 2026 Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting. And then our contracts, 9.5, approve the teaching contract of Trey Switzer effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.6, approve the teaching contract of Sarah Thomas effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.7, approve the teaching contract of Lillian Ralston effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.8, approve the teaching contract of Andrew Russell effective for the 2026-2027 school year. 9.9, approve the administrative contract for Kyle Drake effective July 1, 2026. 9.10, accept the resignation of Selena Mortimer effective on or about May 15th, 2026. 9.11, accept the resignation of Vicki Carlson effective June 30th, 2026. And 9.12, approval of the financial claims and reports, which this month were audited by Angela and Cindy. Do you have a recommendation to make to the board?
I recommend we accept them.
Okay. Dr. McDonald, did you have anything else on financial claims and audits to mention?
No, I don't think so at this time.
Okay, excellent. Is there any discussion or questions from board members before we vote on the consent agenda? Okay, calling to question, Sheila?
Cindy O'Connor. Skip Altick.
Aye.
Joanne Lynn Green.
Aye.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Emily Garrick.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Starting off this evening, we will begin with our reports and discussion items. So the first of those is our monthly financial report with Dr. McDonald.
Thank you. Just wait to see if that comes up, Sheila, or Kyle.
Okay. There it is. Okay. Okay, that's the major program. You need the financial report, right?
Right.
So, okay, that's taking me, sorry.
You're fine.
It's in a different spot. Thought I pulled up the right one. What I have saved as the board one, okay. Sorry. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. It'll take me a little bit then to go, I'll have to go back to the. Sorry, that's what I have saved is that I must have called it the wrong thing.
That's okay. Dr. McDonald, do you want to maybe start with the line of credit piece of things?
Oh.
So that's kind of a separate reporting item. You. So there have been a number of questions about the process of using a line of credit in the district. And so I had just requested from Dr. McDonald that we provide some of the context about how that process has started, how it's kind of continued, and what the district is doing to move away from that process as well.
Sure.
So thank you.
Yeah, so I reached out to Ty Lucas at Nebraska Land Bank. He's kind of been the one that started with Mr. Simpson from the beginning. And I gave every board member just a brief history of that line of credit. It did start in about 2019, was the beginning of that communication with the line of credit. Indicated that there was just some altercations in the cash flow at that particular time in 2019. And so that's when they started thinking about that, they being the district, in regards to what that may look like if they would need to pursue a line of credit. In 2020, they figured out how to issue the tax anticipation note line of credit, but it wasn't utilized in 2019 or 2020. And matter of fact, it wasn't utilized until 2023 with Nebraska Land Bank. That's when they started, they being the district, moving forward with borrowing some funds at that particular point in time as receipts hadn't come in, and the expenditures were steady, but the receipts were ebbing and flowing at that particular time within the district. So in 2023 was actually the first year that the line of credit was utilized, and from December of 2023 to May of 2024, there was a $2 million line of credit issued at that time. From December of 2024 to January of 2025, there was a $2.5 million line of credit at that particular time. And then we are currently in this cycle, we had a $2.5 million line of credit issued on December 15th of 2025. Now, all of those lines of credit, previous lines of credit, had been paid off when receipts came in later on in those particular years. And so The current line of credit right now is the 2.5 million that we're utilizing. And that was back in December. We didn't need to extend that this particular month as our loans or interfund loans that we've been utilizing with all of our accounts. We're still able to capitalize on that, and we weren't needing to utilize any more funds for within the line of credit at this particular point in time. We are still waiting for those receipts to come in when we get the property tax credit, school credits to come in here. And it's typically been in the March and April timeframe, and May has typically been a larger month of receipts as well. So when those receipts come in, we'll be able to pay the line of credit off again this year, and then hopefully our general fund will look a little bit more impressive in regards to a positive amount to start the year off instead of being in the negative and continuing this trend of that line of credit. So that's currently where we're at.
Thank you for sharing that. I think when we have questions asked during public comment, it can be very hard for us because we can't interact and engage in those exact moments. So trying to hear those concerns and make sure that we continue that discussion surrounding them. And Sheila, did we buy you enough time?
I think you did.
Yes. Okay, great.
And it was free.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sheila. This is our general fund. We always go over our general fund each and every month. And as you can tell, what I provide is just a month by month total of receipts and expenditures so that you can follow as the year goes on. And you can kind of see that our receipts in December and January stayed pretty true to what they were a year ago. Our expenditures on average, we're still on average in between that 4.2 to 4.3 million. And so last month, I believe we were running roughly $1.7 million to the negative with the cash on hand. So as we've been moving forward, we currently have a negative balance of $1,133,530.12. Again, we're utilizing our interfund loans within our depreciation, our sinking fund, our qualified capital purpose undertaking, all of those funds to offset that. Currently waiting for our larger receipt funds to come through for us and to wipe out that deficit and get us moving into a positive direction. Again, you can see the borrowed amount there in red, the $2.5 million. We haven't paid any of that off yet. But the good news is that if you look at the January percentage of budget, we are actually 4.8 or almost 4.9% under budget currently. So if that trend continues, I would make an estimate and a prediction that our beginning balance should be moving in the right direction as we move into the next few years when we're staying under budget. So, and then obviously clear to the right, you have your payroll and payables and then your average for each month on those. So any questions that you'd have in regards to the general fund at this particular point in time? The next slide is our cash flow report. Just one more.
One more?
Sure. Yeah, that one. So our cash flow report again starts with our general fund. You can see where our beginning cash was, our revenue and expenses for the month of January, and our ending cash matches the report that was just given. Our depreciation account, where we started, our revenues, expenditures, and then ending cash of $2,806,212.07. Our employee benefit fund didn't change from last month. Our activity fund, you can see where our beginning cash, our revenues and expenditures for the month, leaving us with a balance of $1,118,912.16. Our school lunch fund, again, where we started at the beginning, at the month, our revenues and expenditures, leaving us with a balance of $1,109,358.34. Our bond fund didn't change. Our special building fund, our beginning cash balance, our revenues and expenditures, and our ending cash in our special building fund right now is $332,132.44. Qualified capital purpose undertaking is our beginning cash, our revenues, or taxes that we've received for our qualified capital purpose undertaking, giving us an ending cash balance of $246,004.88. And then our cooperative fund, beginning cash revenues and expenditures. We didn't have any expenditures, so that ended with $23,642.99 for a cooperative fund. So all of those funds put together gives us a total to the district of $4,581,680.35. And so that's the dollar amount that you're using for those interfund and local interfunds to offset that general fund right now. So that is the total dollar amount that is sitting at the bank, and then that matches the bank reconciliation statement that's also part of the report as well. Any questions as far as cash flow? I think the only other thing that I have is just the enrollment for you. And enrollment comparison, you had asked last month to provide maybe 2 or 3 year comparison there. So first line, there's a first column there is October 1st of 23 for a total October 1st of 24 and then October 1st of 25. That gives you a running total of where we start. And the October 1st date is utilized because that's the enrollment date with the state. And then if you jump over to comparison from January 7th of 26 to February 3rd of 26, you can see the percentages of changes there within the enrollment within the month. Again, we've had some midterm graduations and some different things that offset those 12th grade students that are continuing to either be enrolled or who have graduated early. And then as you move down, you can see the grades 9 through 12, 7, 8, 6, and then all of the buildings in regards to where we're currently at with our enrollment. Below that is our preschool building in Buffalo, our 6 Pence, and then our birth to 5 in the different wards and different school buildings across the district and where we're currently at there. So our grand total right now for students is 3,617 students across the district in all of our programs. Questions that you have?
Thank you very much for that report. Okay, our next discussion item is our legislative update. So we will start, Dr. McDonald, since we just heard from you, if you have anything on a legislative update, and if not, or if so, then Skip, if you've got anything, I would welcome comments from both of you.
I just have a couple, Skip.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So there's just legislatively, there's a received some information from NCSA. One of the bills that has come out or has advanced the general fund within the retirement committee was LB 824, and they are proposing eliminating the 180-day no work period to a hard 120-day no work period. And so that's advanced. I don't think it's reached the floor yet.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, but I think it will.
Yes,
In regards.
it has
to
a
that.
lot of support.
Right, yep. And so what happens with that is if it does pass, then it becomes operative 90 days after the session or when it's signed into law. So that's something to look for. Other bills that I had highlighted was LB 258, and that was talking about the minimum wage. And the minimum wage would be increased on January 1st of 27 to $15, and on January 1st of successive years, it would raise by 1.75%. There's also a youth minimum wage that was approved, and that would be $13.50 per hour to an employee who is at least 14 years of age, but younger than 16 years of age, and is not an emancipated minor. And then beginning in January 1st of 2030, and on January 1st of every 5th year thereafter, the youth minimum wage would increase by 1.5%, rounded to the nearest cent. And then they also have a training wage in there, and it provides that a training wage rate would be $13.50 per hour through December 31st of 2026, and beginning on January 1 of 2027, and on January 1st of each year thereafter, the training wage rate would increase by 1.5%. So that was recently passed by the legislature. Also passed by the legislature was LB 384. And this was a bill that changed requirements of any political subdivision seeking to increase its property tax request by more than the allowable growth percentage. So every year we talk about that allowable growth percentage and what our property tax authority is. This bill requires that at least one voting member of each participating political subdivision attend the joint public hearing. And the bill also requires that the county assessor attend the hearing as well. So that was recently passed by the legislature. And the other one that I had, there was a model, school finance model, LB 1038. And 1038 was going to add another, what I did with it. 1038 was going to try to provide more of a common levy. And what they want to accomplish with 1038 is to provide more of a common levy for all districts between 30 and 50 cents, depending on what that may look like. And it would provide more state aid to schools. It would also provide valuation decreases of property within the model itself. And so listening to that debate, they didn't have a lot of information at that time, and NDE did not produce a model, but since then NDE has produced a model of what that state aid would look like. And I'll just use North Platte Public Schools as an example. With if 1038 were to pass and would become law, we would move into a category and receive $25,328,833 in state aid based on this model. They would continue to utilize property tax credit, school credit to fund this. Supposedly, I don't know if that's, I don't know how sustainable that is, and I don't think they know either. So that's kind of the holdup with the bill. But you know, if I run that data just on that state aid alone, and I put it in with our current budget, our general fund levy would actually be 44 cents this year. With that, this year's budget, it doesn't take into consideration the valuation changes, so that would be different. And then the other thing with 1038 is your building fund is actually outside the levy. It's not within the levy that it is currently in, but it would take that asking of the building fund levy from 14 cents to 10 cents for Board of Education to utilize at that particular point in time. So I think there's a lot of more discussion centered around that and property taxes, but that is at least one model that the Nebraska Department of Education has run currently and is out there for debate. So I don't know if you have anything else, Mr. Altig.
Well, I can tell you on 1038, yeah, because they got those projections out. Once those came out, there was a lot of pushback from senators. So it probably, I have a Zoom meeting every Monday with my committee group and at 11 o'clock. And it looks like there isn't going to be a lot of traction for this for a variety of reasons. Would help us, but not everybody. So that one, all of what's going on right now, basically they have some debate in the morning and vote on bills in the morning, and then they have their hearings in the afternoon. Those will be ending soon because they have to have a hearing for every bill. Once that is done, then the committees will vote bills onto the floor or not onto the floor. And that is where we'll really have to pay attention is which bills they send to the floor. But it's a 60-day session and today was day 23. They also have a budget that they have to deal with. So a shortfall of $471 million. So anything that really has a price tag to it may not even make the floor. If it does, it'll get a lot of pushback on it. Secondly, so we will have to see, the real thing will be when things come out of committee. And that should be in the next 10 days or so. And then we'll know exactly which bills will be debated. And then if they pass, how they will affect us. Since you covered the other bills very well that already were there.
Were you able to share that website link
Yeah.
to everyone? Okay.
Yeah, I did not share with you and Skip because you already had it from the conference, but those that were not in attendance at the conference, I did send the website link out to. Yep.
Okay.
So they can follow that and kind of see the rationale behind which ones NASB is in favor of and
Yeah.
how those are progressing. So yes, that has been sent out. Are there any questions from any other board members? Okay. Excellent. Thank you guys for that update. We appreciate it. Okay, our next discussion item, we brought a discussion and you may see something similar coming at our committee of the whole meeting as well, but just an opportunity to have a discussion around the structure of the regular Board of Education meeting agendas and kind of our process of running meetings. And so I'll provide to you a little bit of my rationale behind wanting to bring this to the board and then open that up for discussion. This is not an action item. First and foremost, my recommendation would be that if we do make any changes to our agenda structure or any of that, it should be done in collaboration with whoever is the next superintendent that comes in. So I just want to start that discussion now so that we can be thinking through things and discuss what's working, what's not working, and go from there. So with that, some focuses that I think might be worthy of noting. We did make some changes probably around a year ago where we moved public comment up a little bit earlier in our meeting so that there was an opportunity to speak prior to the board taking any action on anything. I do think that that has been a positive change, but I think that we do still risk that feeling of being very disconnected from those that speak to us in public comment because we don't have the ability to obviously interact and to answer questions. And I do fear that that can kind of feel like your concerns are falling on deaf ears, which is not always the case when we're sitting here looking at you smiling. But it's just because if it's not an agenda item, we don't have the ability to discuss. So that is one thing that I would love to open up to the board. If there's a different placement or structure with that, that would feel better. Some other changes that happened around the same time, and these came from actually the recommendation of Dr. Rhodes, was that we did remove what was previously a superintendent update as kind of a generic item on our agenda. The rationale behind that was it wasn't really a very well advertised specific item, and he had concerns that it could be an open meetings law issue depending on what was shared during that time. So I do feel like that could be something that is kind of missing, having that opportunity, especially as we are diving into a new strategic plan, having something that could be a standing update could be something worth exploring. I do want to say that I actually have been very proud of our board. I think that here recently, especially, we've had some very uncomfortable conversations, and those conversations have to happen in front of the public. And we may not always agree with each other, and it may not always be something that is fun to have to talk about in the public. But I do really think that we have moved into a season of being pretty productive in those conversations. I think we've had some very open and sound conversations and decision-making that have happened. But what I want to ensure is that our board meeting structure provides the opportunity for us to have those types of discussions. So with that, that's the rationale for having it on here, evaluating those changes. I would love to hear from board members on how you feel like the structure is going and any changes you may wish to see.
One time public comment was just before action items when I first got on the board. And it was moved up further because sometimes the comments were about discussion items. And that's why it got moved to where it was, because people would have a point to make on a discussion item and we already had discussed it. So that's why it was we moved it at that time. And I guess Joanne and I would have been the only ones on the board when that was changed. And so I think where it is good because it allows for that if they have things to talk about either in discussion or action.
It was actually just moved a year ago. I think we moved it up even further so that it's above even consent agenda. I know we made a change about a year ago in the placement of that, and I think that
I
was
think he's just referencing where it
Yeah.
was prior
prior to that.
to the change.
I know that I've really appreciated having the committee of a wholes before we had subcommittees, and there were two subcommittees. So 3 of us were in one and 3 of us in the other. And you kind of talked about the finance group, talked about finance stuff, and then the curriculum, and we talked about other stuff. And so it kind of felt like I was more disconnected from the financial part than I was from the curriculum part. But I like that we're in that committee of a whole now, so we get all of the presentations all of the time, and then we get to discuss them and not just hear what everybody else had thought and voting accordingly.
I'll agree with that. Because you hear everything the same, exact same time. Plus the other thing about it, it gets us out to various buildings and we get to hear their action plans and those type of things. But I think doing that, I thought was very positive because it gets us all together. And, you know, when we had the subcommittee, sometimes some things, if you were on finance and you were hearing something from the other one, you had questions that we had to ask in the meeting, where here we can all do it together. So they're all together, whether it's finance or curriculum and personnel, that type of thing. So I agree. I thought it was a positive move.
And I really like that we're having more conversations out in the open. I know it has felt a lot like there's that we're not agreeing on things because we question things, but we're trying to be as transparent as can be. And I actually have thought that we've gotten some great things done in the last year or two.
I guess I would be in favor of, especially if it was something specific that we had the superintendent report on. I know that with some of the other structural changes that were made, I think Dr. Rhodes maybe felt like he couldn't always share. Whether or not that was the case.
I
that was
actually
kind of-
explicitly asked that question and was told that was not a concern, but I do appreciate you bringing
So, but
that concern up.
I also think that, if we, could have a more regular report on the strategic plan specifically, that would be beneficial. So.
I agree with that. I think that would be good if we could hear that.
Mhm. Okay. I think that that would be a very positive change for our agenda for sure. And I think that we probably need to communicate to whomever that individual may be moving forward. I don't necessarily think that has to be a formal PowerPoint presentation every month of an update on every single talking point of a strategic plan. I think it can be something as simple as, you know, here are some highlights from this month that we saw moving towards this. And I think it can be pretty conversational and informal. I think a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on communication needing to be very formalized in a presentation, and even so much as our updates and things that come to us as a board, where really I think what we're all looking for is just open line of communication. So I think if we can create a place where it's just a way to talk about updates on that without it feeling like pressure of somebody having to create, you know, a finely curated presentation, that might be helpful as well.
I think though too, giving them the flexibility to, if you don't feel like they're ready to present something, that would be, you know, something that would be okay too.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else that we should consider, or any changes you would like us to look into when it comes to the structure of our meeting?
Is there a way to be more interactive with the public?
So there are some ways. Dr. McDonald and I had a discussion just about even how some other boards have done things, and he shared with me an agenda item or an agenda flow that basically included, prior to action items on an agenda, they had like the action items listed as a discussion of the action items. And so that was on the agenda. And then public comment was actually right after that. And then action items were after that. So the idea would be that your public comment was kind of sandwiched between some board discussion, but then prior to taking action, you're still hearing that public comment, which, if the public comment is in relation to something on your agenda, allows you an opportunity to have heard those concerns, potentially answer questions. That was one way that I think could be something worth looking into. A lot of other boards and councils do things very differently than we do. So for example, if you look at like the city or the county level, they will open up public comment on pretty much most of their agenda items that they're taking action on. So for instance, you know, if we were approving a change to a policy in their setting, you would open that up to hear if there was public comment on it. You would close that public comment and then you would take a vote, which kind of creates a little bit more of an opportunity for a dialogue because you are on an advertised agenda item. That's why we can't engage during public comment typically because of open meetings law. So if somebody is speaking about an issue and it's not on our agenda, as a board, we can't discuss that.
I think that would help calm sometimes you feel that you're talking to us and we're just staring at you blankly and then, you know, cool.
Yes.
So.
And to be clear, it's uncomfortable on both ends. Like, I don't think that that's enjoyable for either party, to be honest with you.
I'm sure it's slippery slope too, but.
Does that only allow for public comment on advertised agenda items though? So there isn't just an open public comment?
So you can still do an open one as well. What I've seen happen is sometimes that open one might either be right at the beginning still, or sometimes it is at the end, kind of as like a way to request future things to be considered for agenda items. So like bringing something that they would like to see considered. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way that you can do it. Like, I think you can have an open-ended public comment, but still open up public comment within an agenda item, and that's okay. The only thing that would be tricky with our current setup is where we do require to fill out a note card. I don't know that that would be a very reasonable requirement, like if people were coming up on an agenda item, because they may not know until they get to that item. That would be the only thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having it around when we're discussing something, because I do think that's good to hear. Because sometimes you have a question when someone asks, and obviously you're not having a conversation with them, but that kind of can go into your thought process. But I do like what you said about having an open comment too, because I think we need to have that also, not just on agenda items.
Okay. Those are some good things to consider. Cindy, you've been quiet. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, okay, I like the discussion part, but are we still allowed to engage in a conversation with?
So if it's something that is an advertised agenda item, and not promising that this board is going to immediately have answers to all questions on the spot, because that is a premise that I don't think we could keep. But if that is within an advertised agenda item, it does create opportunity to where if somebody were to come up and they had a question specifically about that agenda item, yes, you would be able to. Now, I don't think it's a good idea to just have like a back and forth, like it's not a debate, but it would be something to where if a question was brought or, you know, a concern was brought, that it could be something that the board could immediately discuss afterwards. Yes.
So is that something too that you're gonna require directors to be here pretty much at all of the meetings, just because some of the agenda items and maybe the ones that we would be discussing would then be hopefully the director that would be responsible for whatever we're discussing would be here. But there's a lot of times, I mean, just thinking to chain of command, you know, that people might bring things to us in public comment for that particular agenda item that's not really for us to answer. And so, I guess that's just something to consider too, just making sure that we're honoring those processes.
Yeah.
Something where we just refer back, like we need to
Right.
go through this process.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that that would be handled, I mean, similarly to when any question is brought to us that needs to go through a chain of command. If it's something that is related to what we're discussing that evening, then I think by all means, probably that individual's going to be at the meeting anyways, because they likely were engaged in either a presentation of something or a discussion related to it. But yeah, I'm definitely not suggesting that the board is going to sit up here and answer a Q&A session or anything like that, because a lot of those questions we don't know the answers to. We're not the ones that are in the buildings day to day, but we at least could be aware that it is something that we need to look into. There could be follow-up with that individual. Same thing as what we're doing right now. I think right now when there's public comment, the expectation is that there is some type of follow-up potentially with the appropriate individual in the district. Okay. Anything more on this before we move on? Okay. Again, I don't see us making any big changes or decisions soon. I just want it to be at the forefront of your mind. So through our next several meetings, we're kind of focused on what's working about our process and what is not. And then we can look at making some changes to it. Our next discussion item, we have discussed already, so we will just continue that discussion if there is anything new. Just as a recap here, this is our electronic records access, Google Vault use, and a discussion surrounding policy 3023. So a number of resources have been sent to the board from sample policies, questions, some information that Brian Tegmeyer was able to provide. Both Joanna and I were able to sit down and have a good meeting with him. And then there are some documents in your packet for tonight that kind of go through what some other school districts are doing and how they're approaching this. And then again, that email that I sent with some other attachments are just things for the board to be able to reference so that we can continue moving forward with the discussion. Is there anything that anyone else wants to add to the discussion tonight, or any questions that we have since our last conversation on this?
I like this one and I'm assuming Brian is the one that found the Bennington school one.
Mhm.
I like that one. To me, it's clean, neat.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah.
It has a chain of command and it has a duo system. I like it.
Any other discussion on this?
Same thing that I said at the committee of a whole. I still think there needs to be an avenue where principal, associate superintendent, superintendents have the ability with permission to go through. I think that is essential because there are times something can be brought to a principal's attention and or a higher up, and that person then has to investigate it. So I think there still has to be something in there that says that those people get a permission to do that, and that, or request the tech people to do that. I think that.
Did you read that Bennington one?
Yeah, I read the Bennington one. Yeah.
Is what you're saying different than that?
Well, it's a little different. I like how ours is more in depth, and that's something that could be put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because ours has more information in it. And that would be just adding to the policy instead of totally changing it.
Right.
Again, like I said last time, this isn't anything we're going to do in
Right.
2 meetings or 3. It's going to take several times for us to reach an agreement on it, especially when we keep getting others all the time. So. Yeah.
I did send some questions just as an update to the board. As a follow-up to some of our previous conversations, we were left with some questions and some things. So I did send those over, as well as some language to our district attorney, just to take a look at and offer us some feedback and advice and different directions that we could go with this. So I will probably at our next meeting have heard from him and have some things back that we can present as well. I think after hearing the discussion at our last meeting, I really appreciated Joanne's mention of having kind of a 2-key system. So I think that protects the interests of not only the people whose information could be being accessed, but really the people who are accessing it also, because it kind of protects you against any allegations that could be made. And so that's kind of some of the language that we've been looking at is limiting the direct technology access to a certain group of people, but then having a group of people that can request records to be retrieved. And when you combine those two things, then you're kind of creating a two-part system to access that. And that still enables our administrators to do what they need to. So that was part of what I sent over. And then the additional thing that we kind of discovered in this conversation is really this discussion extends beyond Google Vault a little bit because there are a lot of ways that our district is utilizing electronic records. So we're using Vault, which accesses email and Drive, but we also have rooms that can sometimes be used in an investigation. We have security camera footage, and there's a number of things that are recorded or saved in some way and then accessed. And so just kind of keeping a more broad picture process about what that would look like. And then, of course, the board member piece of this, the recommendation came instead of trying to encompass all of this in one policy, there really probably does need to be a board member electronic communication policy that is separate, that falls under the 2000 section of our board policies. And the recommendation would be that that policy, one, addresses privacy concerns surrounding board member communication, but also appropriate use and how we should be utilizing that, open meetings law requirements, retention of data, all of those kinds of things. So that was part of what was sent over to our attorney as well to review.
I think one of the things that might be helpful, and maybe this is something we could look at for committee of the whole, is just for the whole group to maybe be able to talk to Brian. I know I had a really helpful conversation with Brandy too, just as far as some of what she does with the courts. And so I think just in creating the policy, I do think a lot of the things that have been shared with us as far as Grand Island and Lincoln and Bennington, those are all things that need to be more of the procedural part. But just so that we have an eye on what some of the other schools do in guiding the policy. But as far as there are certain things that I think that really just need to stay in procedure and not necessarily in policy. So as far as the things that we've seen, there were several parts of the Grand Island policy or the Grand Island procedure that I liked. There were also a lot of things with the Lincoln Public Schools procedure that I liked as well. And so, but I think that, again, those are things that need to be kept in procedure and we just need to guide policy. So.
Yeah. I think we just need to be aware of them. Like they're great resources to have so that we understand this is kind of where we need to be able to go with it so that we're not limiting what we're able to do in procedure with our policy. I want to make sure that we're not inhibiting anyone from being able to do what they need to do. So I agree with you completely. I think our policy needs to be more that overarching approach. And then the document specifically like the Grand Island one that we looked like, it's a very well thought out document. It does not all belong in policy. That is definitely something that I think our administrators in our technology department specifically should collaborate and develop. And then as we change technology in the district, when we moved from whatever we were on before to rooms and those kinds of changes, then those are made within that procedures document.
Yeah, so I think the hope would be that the district leadership team or whatever level that needs to be discussed at is the ones that are discussing the procedures. But I do think there are some things as far as understanding what we currently do so that we know how things could look different. It might be nice to have an actual, report or something like
Yeah.
that. So.
I would like to have Brian give us.
I'm sure he will be
Information on
thrilled by this. Yes. No, I think that that's a really good idea. I think we should plan on making an invitation for a future agenda item. Okay, are there any more questions that we're leaving here tonight with that as we continue this conversation for next meeting, we need to address? Okay. Thank you for your continued thoughtful discussion on that. Our action items tonight, our first one that we have is to approve mileage reimbursement for Board of Education member Joanne Lundgren. So I would entertain a motion now to approve that reimbursement for mileage for Board of Education member Joanne Lundgren.
I'll make a motion to approve the mileage reimbursement for Board of Education member Joanne Lundgren.
Second.
Okay. And you can see, board members, that amount is attached there. Joanne did attend the legislative issues conference. And that was signed off on and she provided a report to the board. So this is just her travel reimbursement for that. And we'll go ahead, if there's no discussion on that, Sheila will call that to question.
Skip Bald,
Aye.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Abstain.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our next item is to request approval of a Nebraska Association of School Board membership. So at this time, I would call for a motion to accept approval of a Nebraska Association of School Board membership.
I move to request approval of Nebraska Association of School Board membership.
Second.
Okay, opening this up for discussion, you can see the letter there is attached by NASB. The board has maintained a membership to NASB. We receive quite a lot of services there, from training new board members to attending educational workshops and a number of things that happen in between there. So you can see there is benefit to making this decision early. We do save a little bit if it is paid prior to April 1st. There's a 2% discount there on our membership. It is not necessarily a cheap membership at around $8,000. That being said, we are a board of 6 individuals who have no formal training in being board members. So it probably is wise money to spend.
Well, the advice you get from them on a variety of issues, plus they're a phone call away.
For
Mhm.
every single one of us.
Yeah,
Which I love.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's extremely well worth it.
Yeah.
It keeps us from getting in trouble.
Yes. I would argue sometimes it keeps us sane as well, so. Yes, are there any questions? Mitch, I know you're newer to the board, so you've not had much experience with NASB. The training materials that were provided to you, the giant book, that is where that came from as well, so. Okay. Anything more? All right, calling to question.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Bald.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. At this time, I would entertain a motion on the table to approve the 2026-2027 North Platte Public Schools Certified Master Agreement.
I'll make a motion to request approval of the 2026-2027 North Platte Public School Certified Master Agreement.
Second.
Okay, so opening up the full document is there attached, and the changes that have been made to this master agreement are highlighted there for you so that they're a little bit easier to spot. The negotiations team from the board included myself, Ms. Blazy, and Ms. Lundgren. We had several meetings with our Teachers Association that were, I felt, very productive conversations. And so kind of an overview of the changes that you're going to see there in that negotiated agreement. The first is an increase to the base salary of $800. And I think probably everyone in the room may have hoped for a little bit more, but we had to take into consideration there was a 7.25% increase on our insurance costs. And so that is where we had to make those considerations. Currently, the last number we saw, we're sitting around 105%. Is that still accurate, Dr. McDonald? On the midpoint of our array. So we are sitting very well in how we are compensating those teachers. And then there was a change to language that kind of addressed an error that had happened with horizontal movement pay. So you're going to see that addition of that language there in the contract that just more clearly defines how we address those things moving forward. One big thing that we are excited about is some added language and payment structure to better support our CTE educators and their unique set of qualifications for their jobs, because they don't always fit into the same box that our other educators may fit into. And then another change that you'll see highlighted there, the compensation for unused discretionary days was increased from $125 to $150 per day. And that is in alignment with our substitute teacher pay. So essentially, It doesn't necessarily cost the district to do that. The idea is really to incentivize our teachers to not use all of those days, but to compensate them more fairly when they do not. So one discussion item that was brought up, just so that the board is aware, that didn't make it into this negotiated agreement, but is something that we are looking into and did request some additional information. There were some questions and concerns that were brought up around when teachers have to cover another teacher's classroom during their planning period. And if you are an individual who doesn't have a traditional planning period, which is primarily probably our title teachers, some of our SPED teachers, then those teachers have not been compensated for that time because they're not technically being taken away from a planned period. And so we did not make any language changes at this time, but that is something that you may see come back up in the future as a discussion item. Whether it be a change in a future agreement or whether it just be kind of a change in how we're utilizing that practice. It could be as simple as prioritizing using those teachers that have planning periods first and using that as more of a last resort type of a situation. So those of you that were on that negotiations committee, is there anything that you would like to add to this?
I don't really have anything to add. I appreciated the process. I thought it was very professional. I thought both sides were able to provide and be transparent within the scheme of the process. I think we came up with a lot of solutions. We agreed to disagree on some things, and that's okay. But overall, I just appreciate the process. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we definitely want to communicate our appreciation to the association for what was really a productive and positive process.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone on the committee this year.
I think it was good. I wish Mr. Zog was here. I didn't see him out there, but I just really appreciated that he saw a need and he took the initiative and also a lot of time drafting a document for us to consider with the CTE teachers and so that it was just very well thought out, and I don't think it took Mr. Mills and he very long to actually create the structure that we finally landed on. And yeah, so I really appreciate that initiative.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I will say even our legal counsel, because we had to run some of the things through them, and he was like, this is very innovative. I would anticipate we'll see more districts moving forward. So I think it's exciting for us that we get to be leaders in that regard, and we're not waiting until everybody else is already doing something similar. So we really appreciate that need being brought to us. Absolutely. Any questions from the board prior to voting on this? Okay. Hearing none, we'll call to question, Sheila.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Joanne Green.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our next item on the agenda, I will turn over to Dr. Damon McDonald. He's going to provide us some context and information on selecting an external audit form, and then we will make a motion at that point. Thank you.
Yeah, so our current agreement ran out this year, and so I put out some RFPs to 4 different companies after communicating with some other districts within the array who they utilize. Auditing firms are becoming less and less across the state. Some are utilizing firms outside of the state. And so I sent out RFPs to 4. One came back and said they are no longer performing school audits. I didn't receive a response from 1, and then I received a response from 2 that you have within your board agenda. One was from Dana F. Cole Company, and the other one was from Clifton Larson and Allen. And so those quotes, I believe, were a part of that. Dana F. Cole, they are interested in a 3-year agreement, and those 3-year agreements, the first year would be for a total package of $35,700. I believe the next year would be a $40,900 package, and then a $44,100 package. Those are the increases of those 3 years. Clifton Larson and Allen provided just for 1 year, and I believe their total package for that was $64,000 with a 5% support fee. And then any travel expenses that they incurred would be on top of that as well. So with that, my overall recommendation to the board would be with Dana F. Cole or continue that process. We have utilized them for 3 years, and this would be another 3-year agreement with them as well. So
My understanding is everyone that's worked with them has been very happy with that process of utilizing them for the past 3 years. Is that correct?
yeah, we've had some turnover. We've had some new faces come in, but at the same time, it's a learning curve for everybody when that happens, and that's okay. So they had some different questions that they asked, and but at the end of the day, I thought the process went very well, and they're very easy to work with.
Any questions from the board from Dr. McDonald?
I think financially sticking with Dana would be great.
Okay. I would go ahead and entertain a motion then to select Dana F. Cole and Company for our external audit firm.
I move that we appoint Dana F. Cole and Company as the selection for our external audit firm.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that board? All right. Thank you, Dr. McDonald, for that information. We appreciate that. Hearing no further discussion, Sheila, we'll call that to question.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Joanne Green,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, our next item is a continued review and update to our 5,000 series policies. If you'll remember from our committee of the whole meeting, we were looking at the second half of these. So there were very few changes that were brought up at that meeting. There was some discussion and some questions. Ultimately, there are changes to 2 of those policies that are changing the content in them, which would be 5045, the student fees. So you can see that change highlighted there. There's basically a sentence that has changed in that one. And then 5055, our enrollment in kindergarten, there was a single word change that you'll see highlighted in that policy as well following that discussion. 5054, we did not change language, but we did make sure that the form that's required that accompanies that policy is attached in there. So I would like to open it up if there is any discussion just in general in the 5,000 second half series policies following last meeting. We can have that now. And then after we have done that, we will make 2 separate motions to revise those 2 policies. Okay. Hearing none, I would call for a motion to approve revisions to policy 5045, student fees policy.
I move to the changes in 5045 student fees policy.
Second.
I thought you were going to be there real quick.
Like I didn't know how
Thank
to
you.
say
We
it.
don't have the recommended motions in there today, so we were. All right, so that policy, again, just a minor language change in there that followed our discussion, as you'll see highlighted there. If there are not any further questions or comments on that policy. Hearing none. Okay, Sheila, roll call, please.
Emily Garrick,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick,
Aye.
Joanne Green,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Okay, and at this time, I would now call for a motion to approve revisions to policy 5055, enrollment in kindergarten.
Are you skipping the bowling one?
We did not make language changes to
Oh,
that
just now.
policy. Yes.
I'll make a motion to that. Sorry,
So moved.
so moved.
Second.
Okay. Again, that policy, the enrollment in kindergarten, there was one word that changed, and it is in regards to if a parent wishes to try to enroll their child in kindergarten prior to the birth date cutoff. There is a process by which they can do that, and there are costs associated with that, including some different assessments that can be done, tests. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. And so that language change just clarifies there that that is to the expense of the family. So they will be responsible for those costs incurred. Are there any questions about that? Okay. My understanding is this does not happen very often, so. All right, hearing no further conversation on that, we will call that to question, please, Sheila.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altic,
Hey,
Joanne Lungreen,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy.
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Before you move on,
Mhm.
just a note, the review date on all of those will be changed.
Yes,
Will it reflect today?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yes, it will reflect today since the action was taken today. And Sheila, we
And
appreciate you
and
doing
not
that.
just on the two, but the series, right?
Series.
Yes, the
Yeah.
review date,
Okay.
yes, yep, absolutely. Not a modified, but.
Right.
Yes, great question. Okay. I will, at this time, call for a motion to approve the resignation of Superintendent Dr. Todd Rhodes effective February 27th, 2026.
I move to approve the resignation of Superintendent Dr. Rhodes effective February 27th, 2026.
Second.
Okay. I'm opening this up for discussion. I do want to provide a brief rationale on what we are able to share. So there has probably been some confusion. For clarity, the board did not request this resignation. The board previously approved Dr. Todd Rhodes' resignation that was submitted effective at the end of the school year. And since that time, he has submitted a revised resignation indicating an earlier effective date of the end of this month. There was discussion during that time, and the board had wished to see this school year continued and had presented some options on how we could do that. And it was just determined that that was not going to work on his end. And so this resignation has been submitted. And so my recommendation would be that we honor that request from him. And so I'm bringing that forward here to the board tonight. Taking action on this tonight would allow us to move forward with continuity and planning for the remainder of the school year and really provide that stability for the district. Are there any questions or discussion? And if there is anything specific that needs to move into closed session, we can certainly make that motion as well prior to voting.
While this does not make me happy whatsoever, I wasn't happy with the first one. But as I stated the last time, he turned it in. He gave it to us. I reflected on that, both of them pretty good. But I learned a long time ago that, you can't force somebody to do something if he or she doesn't want to do it. And so I will regretfully approve this.
I'll second that statement.
Yeah, it was disappointing that we didn't get to finish out the year, but yeah, if this is what he wants.
Okay. Sheila, roll call.
Skip Altic,
Aye.
Joanne Lungreen,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Blazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrett,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Our next agenda item is to discuss, consider, receive legal advice, and take necessary action regarding remaining superintendent contract terms and contract negotiations. And for the purpose of personnel, legal advice, and contract negotiations, I would now call for a motion to move us into closed session, please.
You want me to read this down? I move pursuant to section 84-1410 of the of the revised statutes of 1992, known as the Nebraska Public Meetings Law, that the board hold a closed session for the purpose of discussion with the following item: personnel matters, contract negotiations, and to receive legal advice. I further move that this closed session is clearly necessary for the protection of the public interest and for the preservation of needless injury to the reputation of an individual, and that strategy sessions with respect to the real estate litigation and collective bargaining are specifically authorized by the Nebraska Public Meetings Law.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, roll call on that, please, Sheila.
Joanne Lynn Green,
Aye.
Mitch Wagner,
Aye.
Angela Lazy,
Aye.
Emily Garrett,
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Altick.
Aye.
Okay. Board, we will go to, I think 105 is open. Okay, the board came out of closed session at 7:56. Thank you. And at this time, we are going to move on from this agenda item. We are not taking any action on it, and we will move on to item 11.8. So I would now entertain a motion to authorize me as board president to negotiate with those individuals pursuant to our conversation we just had.
I moved that we have Dr. Damon McDonald be acting superintendent through June 30th, 2026.
So
Second.
you're authorizing Emily to enter into negotiations.
Enter into negotiations,
With
yes.
Dr. Damon McDonald.
Okay, so let's clarify, Skip, what is your motion? Just so we make sure Sheila, who's looking at us like we're crazy, knows what.
Yeah, my brain is still spinning. That we have President Emily Garrick enter into negotiations with Dr. Damon McDonald for being acting superintendent through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
That was a mouthful. Thank you, Skip. Okay, any discussion, board, on this? Okay. Due to contract negotiations related, this discussion did happen in closed session. We would anticipate there being a future update at our next board meeting where we can share a little bit more
Correct.
information. Just so the public is aware of that process. So we will go ahead and call that to question, please.
Mitch Wagner.
Aye.
Andrew Blaze.
Aye.
Emily Garrett.
Aye.
Cindy O'Connor.
Aye.
Skip Ball.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our last action item for this evening, we had discussed this at our committee of the whole meeting, and the board at that time felt like we needed to just wait and hold off for a little bit. But at this time, it would be my recommendation to call for a motion to hire NASB to facilitate the interim and potentially permanent search processes for the position of superintendent. So we'll open this up first. I think prior to us making a motion on this one, we should discuss a little bit since we have started this conversation, and then we can determine on what we want that motion to be. So board, what is the consensus on wanting to move forward with a search firm?
Well, I think it's good and to keep it open and transparent for an interim for the next school year. To pick a search firm and not do it ourselves. It doesn't sound good at all. And NASB's been great, so.
As I said in the committee of the whole, this is late in the year. Other superintendents have already signed contracts. Anyone that might be interested would not be able to probably get out of it. So the idea would be that we would select, and I'll agree with you on NASB. I think they are the best. For someone that served as interim from starting July 1 until the next June, and then this fall, we'll have to start the process with looking for a superintendent that would start the next
Year.
cycle.
Yes. I agree with you. I think it was a good move to wait, and I appreciated that recommendation, Skip, just so we could kind of see what was coming, and make some decisions that were more immediate right now. But I do think that just in the interest of doing the very best thing for the district, I think that this board owes it to the district to utilize a search firm and make sure that we have all qualified applicants brought before us, and that we really take a good hard look and make sure that we hire the best person for the job. An update on what that timeline would look like, just so we kind of know, the recommendation from NASB would be to make a motion to hire them to facilitate both interim and permanent search processes, because those do kind of happen adjacent to each other.
I agree.
It would save a lot of legwork, rather than having to do this again a little bit down the road. So I appreciated that insight from them. And as far as timeline from them, we would potentially make that motion tonight. If we hired them, they would list that job as early as tomorrow, if the board wished, to start kind of getting some interest and seeing who may be interested in that position. And then at our committee of the whole meeting, the recommendation would be at the end of this month to potentially bring Sherry. She is available on that date to bring her to our meeting, whether that's a regular meeting agenda item that night or a workshop that happens prior to the meeting for an hour or something along those lines to discuss with the board. At that point, she would know if she has received any interest, but also she would take that time to get a feel for if there are any specifics as a board that we're looking for in that position, anything that she would need to know about the district, and then potentially having some candidates maybe in March to look at for that. So that's kind of what that timeline would look like unless we want to schedule more meetings, which I do not. So any further discussion and
So,
thoughts on how you want to make that motion?
so I was just gonna say, so if we just say select and retain NASB as our search firm, that would cover both?
I think we need to specify
Okay.
interim and
All right.
permanent,
Okay.
or one or the other.
All right,
Yes, because primarily because they do have different fees associated with them and a
Okay.
different process. So the fee for that interim is 2,500 to the district is what that would cost for that search process. The permanent, we're not tying a date to it, so we're not necessarily locked into having to do that at a certain time frame. But that permanent search process is 9,000
yes.
is their current fee for that.
Yeah.
So just so that everyone is aware. So we don't have to make an action to have both. I just do think that starting that process sooner rather than later might be
I agree.
a wise
agree.
choice.
And we've used you, Dennis.
Yeah.
You-
Last two
This will be the
times.
third time.
Yeah, we've used them 2 times before.
Okay. So I would then call for a motion to hire NASB to facilitate the interim and permanent search processes for superintendent.
So moved.
Second. Good job.
Way to get around.
Yeah. Okay.
She rocked it.
So I will, if this passes, I will follow up with Sherry, let her know that this happened. As a board, are we ready for that position to be listed
Sure,
as soon as
yes.
Yes.
possible? Okay. All right. Any other discussion or questions on that when I follow up with her? Any more information we need as a board? Okay. Excellent. Hearing none. Sheila, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes. Looking ahead at our future board calendar, there were just a couple of changes in here. We had a couple of individuals change their claims audit, trade those back and forth. And then looking ahead at our radio coverage, Dr. McDonald has stepped in to cover some of those. So those changes have been made here on this calendar. Upcoming training opportunities. The President's Retreat is in Kearney on February 16th. I am registered. You do not have to be a president to attend. So it is kind of an overall training. If anybody else wishes to attend, please let me know and we can look into getting you signed up. And then there are budget and finance workshops kind of throughout the state looking into both March and April. And then an amplified budget and finance workshop in April in Kearney. So I would encourage, I'd like to see a couple more board members potentially attend one of those. I think that'll be very pertinent training for us this year. So maybe check your calendars and see if one of those works.
Yeah, and it's Cindy, just to give kind of a plug for, was it the amplified one that we attended the last time we went to the,
Oh, in Kearney?
yeah. At any rate, they're really good. It would be especially good for Mr. Wagner. And you know, just as a learning opportunity, the individuals that put that workshop on do like, after I went, I understood the budget way better than I ever had in all of the years that I had been serving. And it was,
They have a lot of
Yeah,
information.
it was really, really good. So it was a few years ago, but really good workshop.
Only takes so much info.
I was gonna say, as if there's not already been a lot thrown at you. Okay, excellent. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, Sheila? Aye.
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 I.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
File. Why do I have pen?